Just specifically on the Defense Minister Gallant, he's talked about in some of his public comments a phase C in the conflict. Is there a joint understanding of what that means? What is phase C?
I will let him speak to what he meant by that. Obviously, we talked to them about what their military operations look like, and we talked to them about when they transition from one phase to the other, and how they hope to get to a point where they're not in major combat operations, where they hope to get to a place in Rafah where they are in the north and where they are in Khan Yunis, where you don't have brigades actively on the ground engaged in day-to-day combat. But in terms of what they mean by that, I think it's appropriate for me to let them speak to.
There has been some comments from Israeli officials talking about, over a long period, but talking about the future security arrangements in Gaza. You talked a little bit about the sort of post-war future. I wonder, is there an agreement between the US and Israel on what that might look like? Who's actually going to be in charge? In the meantime, when they seem to be moving towards that, you've been talking about this as something that's going to happen, off in the future. But if they're actually moving to that situation, I think you've said before, you don't want to see the Israelis reoccupy Gaza.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of what we're heading towards?
So there is no agreement. We do not want to see them reoccupy Gaza, which is why we continue to push for an alternative to that. And you've heard the Secretary say this, that absent a plan for security in Gaza after the conflict and absent a political path forward, you will end up with one of two things. One is Israeli occupation, or two is this state of anarchy where Hamas can reassert control. And neither of those are acceptable to us. We don't think either of those are in Israel's interest, obviously, either, which is why we continue to work on plans for an alternative proposal.